We've heard from Xi Jinping talking about the fights around COVID-19. We've seen the damage that's been done to the Chinese economy in the latest data coming through. But some of the high-frequency data, subway usage, for example, suggesting that perhaps in some cities we've seen a peak. What do you take away from the latest data points around China?
I think that subway data is really interesting because it backs up this idea that Xi Jinping is trying to say, and that some of the provinces are trying to say, that, hey, look, maybe the peak already happened by Christmas. And I think that's probably, a possible scenario that people weren't considering. We were so worried about the consequences, the health consequences, the humanitarian consequences of the China reopening, that it might have been so bad to pass the country so quickly. They've had more than a month of this kind of full reopening now, and maybe that major wave has already passed through. Now, we don't know the true human toll, and that's going to be quite tragic out there. But from a market's point of view, investors may be kind of going, hey, look, the worst might be behind us, and while that services PMI for December was absolutely terrible, maybe it's all positive from here on out. And the important part is that this has been an unloved asset rally in Greater China stocks, whether it's Hong Kong stocks, which has been the highest beater play, but even the derivatives in China equity markets. It's been unloved by foreign investors who are massively underexposed. If there is no major pullback in this COVID story, they're going to be chasing this all year.
Okay, yeah, that's certainly something we're going to watch. In terms of sentiment on these markets then, as we come back into the new year, Mark, with a little bit more conviction perhaps, or at least a few more people back at their desks, do we read not too much into what we saw yesterday and into the futures picture today? Are we still too early in the year to get a clear picture? Because yesterday Europe was really pretty strong, up by 1.7%. Today we see a retreat and futures look a lot weaker, but maybe none of that matters in very, very low volumes.
I'm not dismissing this out of hand. It is true that it was low volumes and you wouldn't always want to read too much, but it kind of matches what I thought would be the background narrative going to the new year, which is that general optimism that the growth story is looking okay still. And in Europe in particular, as I said, there's that great tailwind from the fact that natural gas prices have fallen back so far. That was kind of the big thing looming over Europe, that they'd have a big gas crisis this winter. Well, we're getting through winter, inventories of gas are still very high. There's not going to be the extreme energy crisis, even if the structural problem is not solved. So I think that positive start to the new year is real. What I'm worried about is there's not the massive conviction there, and it could very quickly get challenged in January as yields start to rise across the world.
Okay, and as yields start to rise, that takes me to Japan, and we see the yen on the move. What, on expectation of further changes in policy from the BOJ later in the spring? Is that still the thinking?
It absolutely is, but I think FX traders are getting too far ahead in this story. It kind of makes sense. I'm in the camp that the BOJ are going to have to capitulate on policy this year. But if the yen rallies too far, well, then that's a disinflationary impulse in Japan and will make the BOJ more resolute in maintaining easy policy. So I think that this yen move might be a bit of a head fake.
Okay, yeah, interesting to watch the feedback of that yen move then. Mark, thanks for thoughts so far. Remember, you can get up-to-date analysis and insight from Mark and the rest of the Markets Live team. MLIV Go, that is the function to use on your Bloomberg terminal. And, of course, you can therefore follow along with the Markets Live news flow as it develops throughout the trading day.